guys. Welcome to this week's installment of Zygote at Home, our new video series featuring Zygote's instructors, staff, and this week, one of our member artists, Michael Gill, will demo Letterpress for us, straight from his quarantine basement workspace. As I'm sure you all know, Zygote has had to close its doors and all of our classes and programming have been put on hold. So if you like these videos and you have the means during this terrible time, please click the link. It's down there in the description. Those funds will go to ensure that Zygote can open up again once this is all over and get back to what we do best, which is sharing the love of printmaking. So, Michael Gill is kindly allowing us to step into his basement and see what he's been working on and how exactly letterpress works. So what is letterpress printing? Put simply, letterpress is a form of relief printing where the text or the image is on a raised surface, similar to kind of like a rubber stamp, and then ink is applied to that raised surface, and then the paper is pressed against it to transfer the text or the image. So movable type is often used. So it's a great way to print newspapers or books and to distribute information quickly. For centuries, it was the primary method of publishing books. But these days, it has evolved into much more of an art form. And as you will see, it requires a lot of patience. So let's head into Michael Gill's basement to see what he's been up to. And afterwards, I'll demo a quick letterpress-ish craft that you can try at home.
Hello, I'm Michael Gill. Welcome to this episode of Zygote at Home. I'm holed up in my basement, which is kind of chaotic. I'm here to tell you what I've been working on while we ride out the COVID crisis. So I learned to print at Zygote Press, and that is where I started making woodcut and letterpress books like these, making pictures of familiar things, and actually I start with the words. I'm a writer. I publish Can Journal, by the way. And so I started making these for my kids, and in the process, I started to clean up the presses by pulling sheets of paper through the inky rollers, so to take off like the ink mechanically and use a little bit less solvent, because that'd be better for the environment, of course. And instead of throwing those away, I would use them over and over again, and they'd gather, layers of ink and become kind of beautiful themselves. And after I did that for a while, I had like stacks of this paper. So what I decided to do was to cut them and use them as pages for a new book project. And I put that off and put that off. And now here we are locked up at home, and so I finally decided to take action and get this project going. So I'm very fortunate to have this little tabletop press, which I got from my dear friend Liz Moggins, and that sat in my basement for a little while unused, kind of like that paper. But since we're all locked up at home, I decided finally to set that up so that I could use that for this project. So let me show you what I'm working on. So here's some of that paper. I'm a big fan of bicycles, and over the years I've made a lot of woodcuts involving bicycles, and so in the interest of recycling, because I'm recycling all this old paper, I also figured I'd recycle all those blocks. In these previous projects, they were sort of incidental, the bicycles, they'd come up in a story. In this case, I decided I'd make this little book entirely about bicycles. So I decided to write some text myself and to gather some quotes from famous people about bicycles and put those together and print them on these recycled sheets of paper. So right now what I'm printing is quotes from some famous other people. The first one I did is from Christopher Morley, a novelist and poet, who said that the bicycle surely must always be the vehicle of novelists and poets. So this is my chase with another quote locked up in it. This is some type, some text, and my feet. This had been sitting at Zygote for a long time. I promise I will redistribute this type just as soon as this project is done. And this is that spectacular little press, Model U, Excelsior Model U, with a little 5x8 platen, which is a good size for this. And you push this down and it makes an impression like so. So I'm gonna ink that up and put the chase in place and see how it goes. So I had all these multicolored inked up pages, and to print words over the top of those would be kind of difficult to read because it would, you know, be sort of cluttered looking. So I got some of this metallic silver ink, just bought it online, and metallic inks are just super opaque, and so they even like make a little text box over the black there, and then when I print text over that you'll be able to see it. And I went over to that printing supply shop over on St. Clair at about East 40th or 38th or something. It used to be called Expedex, and now it's called Veritiv. This is the smallest can that they had of oil-based black, but I got myself a can of oil-based black. For this project, oil-based paint is great. We usually use letterpress. We usually use rubber-based at the letterpress shop at Zygote. But when there's so many layers of ink as there are on those pieces of paper, rubber-based ink takes forever and ever to dry and remains tacky. And so I prefer oil-based for that kind of thing when there's a lot of layers. And just a little bit of ink. So now I'm going to do this a whole bunch of times to even it out so that there's not big blobs of ink. I'm going to keep doing that, but I'll spare you. So I printed some throwaway sheets of paper with the little silver text box in the same location as on my actual pages so that I can do some testing and see when I print it where my text is going to land. So obviously I need to move that a bit. So I took the chase out, rearranged the furniture a little bit, and tighten back up the coins like so, and we'll try it again. And what a suspenseful moment this is. And again. Finally, there we are. So I'm going to make 13 of these. Hope to get an edition of 10, and we'll see how that goes. So here's this first signature so far. It's I'm using 3 sheets in each signature, so that'd be like 12 pages. So I've just got these first few done. And I think there's like 8 signatures in this book, so I'm going to be at it for a while. But of course, we're all, we don't have anything else to do. So I'm looking forward to getting back to Zygote Press, and thanks for watching.
So here's the supplies that you'll need for our letterpress project. You need some styrofoam. So I'm going to use an egg carton, and then I've cut out kind of flat pieces of the styrofoam. You can also use a takeout container or whatever you have around. And then you need some craft paint, some acrylic paint. I have a brush here, and then I have a dull knife, which I'm going to use to cut or draw with, and then some paper. This is just printer paper that I've cut into these little squares here. So to start this project, the main thing you need to remember is whatever I carve into my styrofoam needs to be backwards, because when I put the paper on it, it's going to come out backwards. So a really good idea is to use, say, a word that will be the same forwards and backwards. So let's do mom, right? Mom is a word that works both ways. So I'm going to take one of these little styrofoam pieces, and I'm going to, with a pen, write mom. Just kind of lightly at first. And I'm not going to push down too hard. And then maybe below it I'll do some hearts, because it doesn't matter if hearts are forward or backwards. Okay. Now that you've got your design kind of pushed in there, you want to take your knife, a kind of dull knife like this, and what we're going to do is we are going to push down all the areas that are not letters. So we want to go into the negative spaces and push down like so. I hope you can see. So that what we end up with is that the letters are protruding from the surface of the styrofoam, and that's how we're going to print our image. As you can see, I'm pushing down around this M. I'll bring it up close so you can see. See how I'm pushing down so that the M is raised, and that's how we're going to make our image. So I'm going to continue on this, and then I'll show you when it's finished. All right, so I finished my little letterpress plate. I'm going to bring it up and show it. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can see I pressed down all the areas where there are no letters or shapes. So there's 3 hearts, and then it says mom, as you can see. So all the negative space has been pushed down in the styrofoam with my knife, and then I just have what I want to relief print or letterpress print on top. So we're gonna try and see if we can do this. Okay, so I have some paint here. Normally you would wanna use letterpress ink or Burin, but we don't have that, so we're making do with what we have at home. So I am just going to try and evenly, very evenly brush my paint just onto, hopefully, the relief part of the image. That looks pretty good. Try to get it even on there. Now the fun part, wipe your hand off. I have my handy Ape Made Art is Work apron to wipe it off on. I'm going to take a piece of paper now that my hands are kind of cleaned off, and I'm going to put it down right here, and we're going to make our print. So place this right on top of the piece of paper. I'm going to press down, but not too hard. This is our printing press. Our hand is our printing press. So we'll see how it works. Now, it's kind of trial and error when it comes to this stuff. So you try it once, see if it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll do it a little bit harder the next time. That's the fun thing about printmaking. You have, like Michael was doing in his video, you try it, you see how it works out, and if it doesn't work, then you find another solution. So let's take our plate off. And we have a print, as imperfect as it is. Mom, and 3 hearts. I think you get the general idea of this. Now, like I was saying, you can perfect this method and get better at it. I've made a couple more little things. I made individual ones. I wrote dad backwards. You can see that. I made another mom like this so I can put it on the top of a letter. And I made just a little individual heart. So you can make whatever you want and then ink them up and press them down. You can make postcards or letters. You can do all kinds of things. I hope everyone enjoyed this week's Zygote at Home. Stay tuned. Next week we're going to have more fun projects and demos from instructors. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you soon.